today. I'm not going to specifically talk about tech careers. I'm not a technologist myself, although I've worked in tech companies for my entire career, but really in that kind of tech sales, sort of business leadership sort of space. So today I'm going to talk about driving your career with passion and resilience. So it's going to be very much based on my experiences in my career so far, but I really think that these two particular aspects of career development are relevant regardless of whatever career path you choose to follow. So I'm going to start off today by talking a little bit about me and the journey I've been on, and then I'm going to talk to you about the importance of passion, and then the importance of resilience, and finally how working for Microsoft helped me to fulfill these two things in my viewpoint. So a little bit about me and how I guess I got to where I am. So I'm currently the director for local and regional government for Microsoft in the UK. I've been with Microsoft about 2.5 years now. And effectively, my role is the business leader and head of sales for a large team that delivers out all of our solutions and services into local government customers across the UK. And we cover the whole of Scotland and Wales and all of the different public sector entities within those geographies, because they're, as many of you will know, are devolved. So we've got a slightly different timetable in Scotland, where I live, for coming out of lockdown, but very much hope that we won't be too far behind you guys in England. My whole career has been in IT sales, so I've been working now for about 23 years, getting on for 24 years. It's always been in IT sales, and I've always had a really, really strong focus on public sector. Now, that wasn't always, I think, when I was a child, what I wanted to do necessarily. I had a really strong science focus at school, so I always knew I wanted to do something science-based. I did at one point toy with being a doctor, and then decided that that kind of probably wasn't really where I wanted to spend my time. My degree, as Corinne said in the introduction, was in genetics and immunology, which I absolutely loved, and actually I find it really interesting at the moment, still reading about all the different vaccines and the vaccination program and how that affects COVID and stuff, because I still find that kind of science element of it really interesting. And I did actually think about at some point going into genetics research and counselling, actually, when I was finishing my degree. But actually, circumstances meant that I really needed to earn when I finished university. And it wasn't really an option for me to sort of continue on in education for a long amount of time. So I started to look for graduate schemes to kind of use my degree to get into kind of accelerated graduate roles. And there were lots of different sorts of ones that came up. I had interviews with various accountancy firms, and then interviews at a couple of firms for sales, for account management. And I decided to land with a company called Computer Centre, and I spent a very, very big chunk of my career so far at Computer Centre, over 20 years. And the thing that really made me choose them and actually stay with them for so long was the culture that they had. And it was a role that could really excite me, getting out to spend time with people. And I really felt like there was a lot of kind of actually passion and excitement and opportunity within that role. And it's been a great career, right? It's been a great career so far. Computer Centre was a fantastic organisation. I stayed there for a long time because I was always learning things, and the job always changed, and I had a variety of different roles over the time I was with them, and it felt like that kind of, there was always a new challenge to kind of take on. And then Microsoft approached me, and that was an even bigger challenge and a newer challenge, and one that I really wanted to embrace and take on. So that's kind of me and how I've got to kind of where I am today. So why do I think that passion is an important thing to have when you're driving your career? Well, I think it's simple, really. It's very, very hard to do a job that you aren't passionate about. It's not that you can't do it. It's not that it's impossible. It's not that you can't achieve anything in that. But I do think it's really, really hard to be motivated to really excel in a job that you can't find anything to be passionate about within that. And it's not that, again, that every single role that you get will cover all the elements of things that you're passionate about, but I really think it's important to find something that you can hook onto that kind of really helps to drive you in that job. They say find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. That's fundamentally not true. You will work hard. There will be days that are better than others in any job and days that can be really tough. But I think you will find that kind of work, ultimately, no matter how hard it gets, can become a really fulfilling part of your life, and it can bring you joy. And another saying is that, you should work to live, not live to work. And I probably agree with that a little bit more. But I think actually, if you can integrate into your life a job that you love, that you're really passionate about, when you can achieve that sort of balance in a role or a career, then that's really when life is at its most fulfilling, because you do spend a lot of your life at work, unless you are lucky enough to win the lottery or something, which still hasn't happened to me. Now, I think, as I said, not every role is going to be one that you can get really passionate about. Some are going to have better aspects than others. Some will cover more of your passions than others will. But for me, it's kind of always been a path, really. So I've always tried to choose roles that gave me more than just a promotion or just a pay rise. For me, it had to mean something. It had to be moving me along that kind of career journey, and always had to have some element of something that I was really passionate about within that. So what kind of passions have driven my career? So I've hinted at some of the things in my introduction. So working with people, I've always really enjoyed meeting people, meeting lots of different variety of people, spending time and discussing with people what their goals are and learning and understanding about that as well. So I've always wanted to do something where there was going to be a really strong aspect of spending time with people. Variety, I've always wanted a role where, I could almost find something different to do every day within that role. And so the roles that I've taken, on the sales side, sales, no one day is the same, from one to the next. So there's certainly got to be some variety in it. The opportunity to lead for me has been important. I actually became a people manager and leader very early in my career. I think I was about 26 when I got my first kind of leadership role. And I really see people management as a vocation. I think it's massively, massively important. Your ability to impact broader than what you can do yourself, to help other people with their career, to really help to, I get no more pleasure than when, I see people in my team start to get new roles and promoted and really develop their career. That's hugely important for me. I talked about science, so real strong science background, and that definitely led me into the sort of technology roles that companies that I've worked for. And I'm really, really passionate about the use of technology for good. So the opportunity that we have to really make a difference for the benefit of society using technology. And so, and that kind of brought me really to kind of more focus with working with public sector customers, and particularly local government, because local government actually, as well as having to collect our bins and kind of do all that rather prosaic stuff, they really are responsible many occasions for taking care of and supporting the most vulnerable in our society. So when I can speak to our customers about the sorts of technologies that we produce and how that can help them to really make a difference in delivering those sorts of services, that's massively important to me. Learning, I've always been incredibly passionate about learning and just continuing to develop and learn. You're never, ever, ever the finished article. We should, view our entire lives as a learning journey and a learning opportunity. And it's just amazing, the learning opportunities that I've had. And it was really that love of learning and a desire to kind of almost develop more of kind of the people side for me that led me to do a counselling and psychotherapy qualification while I was kind of working full time. And I had a family. I've got 4 children and luckily an incredibly supportive husband. But that was just really important for me that, at a point in my career where I felt I'd done quite a lot and I was in a role where it was challenging, but there wasn't quite as much for me to learn, that I found an outside kind of input for that. And that's a good example of how you can sort of mix up kind of your passions. Your job doesn't have to deliver all of the passions in your life. There can be complementary things that you do outside that helps to cover off some of the things that you really need to. And finally, diversity and inclusion is hugely important to me. I'm massively passionate about it. We have employee resource groups, and I'm actively involved in our BAME group. I'm on the board of that as an ally representative. I'm on the board of our LGBTQ plus group as well. And working for an organisation that fits in with that culture, that has that desire to drive diversity and genuine inclusion is always important for me. And I genuinely could not work for an organisation that I didn't feel was really, really committed to that as a goal. So that's given you a bit of an example of what passion means to me. This is what drives me. But another aspect of passion is authenticity. So you need to be truly authentic, true to yourself, to really understand what your passions are, to be able to drive them. So my passions won't necessarily be yours, and yours will not be the same as somebody else's. A really good example is that somebody that worked for me has just very recently moved on into a different role in Microsoft. And that role was to be completely 100% focused technically on data. And data was their absolute dream job. They were just passionate about how data could be converted into information to help our customers. That was his passion, and he's gone and followed it. So my real advice to you on that is find what you are truly, authentically passionate about and incorporate that into your career. Don't try and follow somebody else's passions. Really make sure that you're aware and really think hard about that for you, and then let that drive where you spend your career. Now, just because you find a career and a role that you love doesn't mean that it will not have ups and downs. I can guarantee you, even the best jobs have down days and really, really tough times. I mean, what everyone has been through during the pandemic has shown that. And sometimes it isn't the job. Sometimes it's everything going on in life outside work that makes things really, really tough. And that's why resilience is so important. Now, resilience is defined as the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. That's a dictionary definition. I think of resilience as being able to kind of get back on the horse when you fall off. Now, sometimes that is quick. Sometimes you can bounce back fast and jump straight back on and just keep on riding. Sometimes you really, really need to learn why you fell off the horse in the first place before you get back on. You can't just jump back on and carry on. Sometimes it isn't quick. Sometimes you need to tend to your wounds. You need to give yourself a little time to heal. And you need to recognize that getting straight back on the horse won't do you or the horse any good in the long term. And sometimes what you really need is help to get back on the horse. And actually, this is something that I've really had to kind of learn throughout my career and certainly, even more so in recent years. But that actually a really important aspect of resilience is vulnerability, is being able to call out when you need help, when you need assistance. Resilience doesn't mean the strength to do it alone. There's actually a huge amount of strength in vulnerability. It's something I'm still learning. I think, for people in leadership roles, it can feel really challenging to show that vulnerability. But it's hugely important, it's hugely powerful, and it can really lead to much greater strength. So how do you get to be resilient then? Well, I think it's about calling on the things that ground you. So for me, the lessons my parents taught me, how they conducted their lives. They always encouraged me to believe that no matter how difficult things were or what disadvantages that we had, that I could do whatever I set my mind to, that I had that talent and that opportunity to do that. And that's kind of led me a lot as through any tough times that I've had. My family and my children absolutely help to ground me and give me that resilience. Modeling to my children, that whatever life throws at you, you can cope with it by kind of, carrying on, working with others, allowing people to help you, but ultimately trying to have that positive mindset that things will come good eventually. Another thing, I think, being there for other people, actually, sometimes just getting out of myself and my own issues, I think also really helps to ground me. And I spend a lot of time and thinking about the things I'm grateful for. There's an exercise that builds resilience, which is about every day, at the end of the day, just thinking about one thing that you're grateful for. And I've been doing a lot of that through the pandemic, really kind of counting my blessings and thinking about the things that are, that I'm really grateful for during that. And that's been a huge help. I don't think toxic positivity helps. I think, it's not about pretending everything is okay, but it's about just trying to remember the things that actually you're really, that really are good for you, that really are blessings that you have, and not always focusing on the things that are really tough. And as I said, I've had to really learn the lesson about, showing vulnerability is not about being weak. I've had to learn about, resilient. Sometimes the only way to be resilient is to recognize that I need to stop and recover and give myself some time. And that's kind of one of the most important things about being resilient, is knowing when you need to do that so that you can carry on. So just to finish off, I guess I just want to talk a little bit about what it is about Microsoft that has really guided me there, and that really helped me to fulfill my career with kind of passion and resilience. So I think the first thing, I'm sure all of you kind of have some awareness of Microsoft, is just the breadth of solutions that we have and the genuine impact that they can have for our customers in how they deliver the services to people. So, we talk to our local authorities about, the social care services that they have to provide, which have been called on even more during the pandemic than at any other time, and how they can use technology to deliver those in an even better way, to intervene earlier, or actually even to try and get to the point where they can prevent things getting really bad because they understand the data and can use technology to look at that and predict where problems might be. And that's hugely important. I think, I genuinely think I would struggle to work in an industry where I wasn't able to have that impact. Microsoft invests hugely in tech for good innovation. We have a number of different programs supporting SMEs and startups, but with a real focus on solutions that kind of can deliver benefit to the world. We have a massive commitment to sustainability, which has been through the news a lot, and we've just updated it recently. And given the state of the world and the size of a company like Microsoft, it's absolutely down to our sorts of organizations to be able to lead the way on that. We have a learning culture. We talk about being learn-it-alls, not know-it-alls. So, given my desire to continually learn and improve and be able to take on new skills, that fits, hugely well for me. And we have a genuine commitment to diversity and inclusion. We have a motto that we say, which is come as you are and do what you love. But that is not just a glib saying. We are investing huge amounts in trying to drive diversity and genuine inclusion and really hold ourselves to account to make sure that the things that we are saying are how we are actually acting in everyday life. So just to conclude, I guess I want to leave you with just a few things to think about as you kind of drive your careers forward. So work out what you are truly, authentically passionate about, and make sure that that is absolutely part of the decision making you make in your career. You might not be able to choose a job every single time that you're passionate about, but always make sure that you're checking that and that you know why you're making those decisions if you're not. Think about what grounds you. What are the things, the learnings, the people that you can call on when times are tough, so that you can keep going, so that you can show that resilience. But also learn to recognize when you need to step back and when you need to take a break, and when just keeping going isn't the best thing for you or ultimately the outcome you're trying to achieve. And very finally, never stop learning. Throughout your career, take the opportunities to learn. If you can be excited about learning and view yourself as kind of always unfinished and always having the opportunity to better yourself, that will really, really serve you well in your future career. So that's me. I've done just over 20 minutes now, so I'm that's everything I wanted to say just now. I've really enjoyed speaking to you this afternoon.
Sorry to interrupt. I was a couple of minutes late, and sorry, I didn't get your title. Pleasant good afternoon to you. My name is Kasha. Is it okay if you just briefly just say your role, please? And I know you mentioned about Microsoft, but I'm not quite sure like your role, if that's okay. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm the Director of Local and Regional Government for Microsoft in the UK. So it's a business leader and head of sales for a large team that deliver our solutions into local government customers.
And can I ask one more question, please?
Yeah.
You guys, does your company work placement for students?
We do some internships. We do apprenticeships and internships. Yeah.
Okay, but not any actual work placement that a student can do and get paid for.
Our internships are paid, but they tend to be kind of like a year-long internship.
Okay, then. Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Well, look, I was just finishing up anyway, so I'm really happy to hand over to questions. I hope that was useful and at least interesting for everyone. So yeah, over to you.
Thank you very much, Faith. That was absolutely fascinating. Does anybody have any questions?
I seem like I've got all the questions. Hi,
go ahead.
Afternoon. My name is Kasha. Just a quick one. I know I did ask Faye about two, but I've also got another one. In terms of internship, your website, what's your website that we need to go and look at for internship, please?
I'll make sure that Corinne's got any details about Microsoft after that. After this, I think we should have. You've probably got them anyway, Corinne. But if not, then we can make sure that you've got all those links.
Thank you very much.
We do have the links on our website, but we'll make sure that you get them. We'll follow that up. Hello, Sue.
Hi, Faith. I'm Corinne's colleague, Sue, and I found that really interesting and wonderful therapy for these times, I think. So thank you very much. I didn't have to pay for that, so that's good. I'm just really keen to know, other than your family, who inspires you?
Oh God, I really need to get a really good answer for that kind of question.
It's the sort of question I'd hate to be sprung on me. But,
do you know, all sorts of people inspire me.
For different reasons, yeah.
For lots of different reasons, and actually, I think it's really easy to say Michelle Obama inspires me, or people like that. I really try and seek out, kind of really interesting stories about kind of particularly women of minority groups that don't normally get that kind of big bang, lots of kind of media coverage that everybody knows their stories. So actually I do a lot of reading up about female scientists, and actually all of the female scientists that you would not know, the fact that Ada Lovelace. You know, you look at Ada Lovelace in terms of computing, and she would have just been absolutely dismissed, but she is like the mother of modern computing.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
And so I really like to seek out all of those kind of different stories and kind of research that, and that's where I get my inspiration. My inspiration from, because you know we can't all be Michelle Obama, can we?
Exactly. No. And of course, science being your passion as well, it sort of ticks a lot of boxes for you. So thank you. I was just sort of thinking that and thought I'd ask a question.
Yeah, and I think for me also it is about, you know, one of the things that I want to do in terms of diversity, inclusion, and being an ally is really spreading my knowledge beyond what I generally just get fed by the media. So I kind of make sure that I try and consult lots and lots of different resources to kind of learn about lots of different aspects of the world. So
yes, yeah. And you have time for all of that, or you make time for all of that?
Well, you know, a few minutes in the evening on Google.
No. Yeah.
Or
Okay.
Wikipedia.
Thanks, Faith. I'll hand back to Corinne now.
Thank you. We've got another question from Alexander. What motivates you and keeps you motivated when motivation is fading out?
Oh, it's another really good question. I think a really good thing to do, and one that's helped me, is to just try and remember other times when it's been tough, other times when I felt down, other times when I felt that I couldn't do it, and then look to the point when I did get through that I did manage. And actually my father always used to quote at me, you know, the darkest night is just before the dawn. And that's something that always keeps me going, you know, almost at that point where you're at your lowest ebb, where you're struggling. It's kind of like, right, that's the point that things are going to start better. But I think almost just recalling back those times when it's been tough, but I've got through it, to remind me that even though it's difficult, if I can keep myself motivated, if I can keep myself going, I'll get through it. And that's often the point where I feel like I then start to go on the upward curve.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a few more questions. We have another question. Chloe, would you like to answer your question?
Hi there, yes, thank you. I'm Chloe from CGI, and I really like these sort of conversations. I'm part from the Women's Network, and I think as we get more of a say in these sort of conversations, we should do our part to make sure those who are from minorities have their say as well. So I really agree with the conversations you're having. I just wanted to ask, it's maybe quite specific, but you mentioned that you should be quite a learner, reach out to continue to learn. Out of your experience, what's been the best training course or the best learning experience you've dealt with?
Oh gosh, I mean, I did some fantastic sales courses when I was very early in my career, because you know when I joined Computer Centre on my grad scheme, I had absolutely no sales. Well, that's not true. I'd worked in Tesco's. You have to do a little bit of sales and stuff, but I didn't really have, you know, any sales experience. So I did some brilliant sales courses, but I'll be honest, they're probably all quite old now. I mean, they were like 20 odd years ago that I did those. They probably don't even kind of do those anymore. But I think it's more about, I can remember bits of learning that I've taken from courses. So, you know, I remember of one course that we did, again, this was about 15 years ago. One of the things that really stuck with me was, when you're in a sales situation, don't ignore the amber lights. So if something doesn't feel right in the back of your head, then don't ignore it, don't gloss over it, actively try and bring it to the surface, because it's the only way you'll deal with it. And then that really, really helped me. So I think, Chloe, it's more for me, any course that I do, I always try and walk away with at least one absolutely golden nugget from that I then start to almost assimilate into my practice in general. But so, I mean, there's just so many, I mean, the breadth of things that you can learn is incredible. And it's an amazing thing about Microsoft, actually, that not only are we given lots and lots of time to actually learn, they give us a whole day every quarter that we're meant to just block out and dedicate to learning, but actually the kind of the scope of things that we can learn. And it's sometimes, some of it's very, very technical, some of it's more kind of cultural and learning about unconscious bias and privilege and allyship. And, you know, and for me, I kind of just like to absorb knowledge, really. So yeah, so I think I couldn't tell you go and do that course because it's really amazing. I think what I can tell you is try and take as many learning opportunities as you're given. And even if you start off on that and you go, this feels a bit pants, actually, you just find something in that that is the golden nugget you can take away from that and note it down with everything else. No learning opportunity is a wasted opportunity.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Faith.
Great, thank you. We have got another question. You said that you've got your first leadership role at 26. How did you do that?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. Probably being really mouthy. There probably was an element of that. I think I've always been a little bit kind of feel the fear and do it anyway, which I think is actually, it can be quite difficult for women to do. I mean, there's a stat that kind of, you know, women will tend to stop when they get to, if they see 55% of a job role that they can't do, then they will stop applying. And for men, it's like, you know, 85% and they'll keep going kind of thing. So I think for me, I always just kind of, even if I was really kind of scared or if I felt like it was really going to stretch me, I just threw myself into it. And every time I threw myself into it, I think because I had that like love of learning and that desire to learn and be successful, I made sure that I went away and learned really quickly how to do any element of the role that I couldn't do at the start. So and some of it is also opportunistic. Some of it is luck. There happened to be that role, you know, that I happened to be in the right place to do that. So I think it's a mixture of taking the opportunities as they arise, but making sure that you're always ready for that opportunity. So I think, you know, it's kind of like, you know, the harder I practice, the luckier I get, I guess. So there's probably some element of truth in that as well.
Great, thank you very much. I've got another question here. This is from Alice Ramsey. She says, I think you may have said that Microsoft headhunted you from the computer center role. If she actually did hear that, do you know how Microsoft came to hear about you and what is the story behind that?
I think it was probably through LinkedIn. Microsoft, we are big users of LinkedIn, so I would say make sure that you've got a really good LinkedIn profile. I'm going to be honest, mine still needs a little bit of work. But I think make sure you've got a really good LinkedIn profile. But I'm pretty sure that what kind of how they kind of came to hear about me was from LinkedIn, but also the network that I had within the within kind of other colleagues within the market that would have said to Microsoft, oh, actually, you know, I think Faith's really good. You should go and have a chat with her. And then, you know, I think really my, you know, I met my boss. I had a kind of an interview over what was Skype at the time before Teams with my boss. And I think we could probably tell pretty quickly that we gelled really well and we were going to get on and be able to work together, and that I could really bring something to the role and Microsoft could really give me something in it. So, you know, I had a sense, and I didn't actually get the first role I spoke to Microsoft about. It took a number of months of us kind of talking to kind of settle on the right role. So it's not like it kind of happened within a period of months, but yeah, I think that's, you know, a good strong LinkedIn profile that stands out, and kind of good network in the market of people that will, you know, when they're asked, will say, yeah, they're a great person to work with. I like working with them.
Great, thank you. And this question is from Sue. I like your phrase, finding something you're authentically passionate about. Have you also discovered things along the way that you now stay clear of?
Yes, so I would say that I absolutely stay clear of taking a role that I'm really attracted to just because it pays more money or it looks like a promotion. The time I left Computer Centre before Microsoft, I probably did that, and that was a very long time ago, and I only left for sort of 6 months. But really, culturally, it wasn't a good place for me. And even though I did the role fine, I didn't want to stay there. So I was delighted when Computer Centre asked me to come back, because that kind of really saved me from that. But yeah, I mean, I think it absolutely is about, things where I go with my gut, actually. I think or with actually my knowledge of the organization. So an organization that I really felt didn't have a good cultural fit for me, that I really didn't feel like had that sort of philanthropic side or that desire to do good in the world, I know I would struggle to work for an organization like that, actually, no matter how good the job. So yeah, that sort of comes from experience, really.
Great, thank you very much. I think we've got a few more people typing. Lucy? Okay, some people are just saying thank you. I think Lucy might be typing a little bit more. No? Okay. Are there any other questions? People want to maybe switch on their mics, it might be quicker or easier. Okay, I've got Lucy's question here. Do you believe that business culture is crucial to your happiness in the role?
Yeah, absolutely. Business culture and the manager and management team you work for, absolutely crucial. It's one of the reasons that I really see kind of people leadership as a vocation, and work really hard to make sure that I'm the best that I can be at that job, because it is so fundamentally important to, I think, the well-being, health and happiness of people in their roles, that they have good management. So yeah, 100%. For me, I believe that it's crucial. And if a business culture isn't good, and if it doesn't fit with your kind of passions and with your beliefs and with what makes you comfortable, then I think it would always be very hard for me to be happy in that role.
Great, thank you very much indeed. Well, thank you so much, Faith. That has been an absolutely fascinating insight into your career story. If everyone can switch on their mics and give Faith a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
As I said, we have recorded this session and it will be available through our website. Thank you so much, Faith, and thank you everyone for attending today. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.